Hey everyone, it's May, and welcome to another episode of the May Lee Show. Hope you're doing well. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can see that yes, I did get a haircut. I cut about 6 inches off. I was done with my long hair and I wanted a little bit of a fresher look. So, did that. And I got these new glasses, these funky looking glasses. They're actually helping me with reading my computer better and reading my smartphone and things like that. Yes, it's because I'm getting old, but also it's helping my computer eye strain, which I have pretty severely. I think we all do because all we do is stare at our computers and phones right now at home, right? But anyway, things are starting to open up, obviously, and as more people get vaccinated, still more people need to get vaccinated, and there are those who refuse to get vaccinated. But that's a whole nother story. But right now, as it stands, about 43% of the population here in the U.S. has been vaccinated fully. Here in California, we're up to 45%. So it's not bad, but as we all know, we need at least 70% herd immunity before we can start relaxing truly and defeat COVID 19. So we're kind of far from that goal still. So, we need to continue getting more people vaccinated. But like I said, there are some of those out there who don't want to get vaccinated for various reasons. I will withhold comment. But as we open up, it's an interesting sort of dynamic that's going on. And I'm speaking from personal experience myself, which is that I'm of two minds. There's a part of me that is looking forward to opening back up and socializing again and doing the things that I used to enjoy doing before COVID. But then after over a year of staying at home and just kind of not feeling a lot of pressure in many ways, I've gotten kind of used to it. And so the idea of fully being tossed right back into the thick of things, in some ways is not that appealing. I know that might sound strange, but I'm not alone because I did just recently read this article in the Atlantic, and it's a writer named Tim Kreider, and he entitled his article, "I'm Not Scared to Reenter Society. I'm Just Not Sure I Want to." So let me just read some of it because I thought it was fascinating. He starts, "This post pandemic summer is evidently expected to be one long orgiastic reunion, after which, once that's out of our system, it's back to work, back to school, to what we used to call normal. And if the pandemic had ended, say, last June, after a couple months of lockdown, we probably would have returned to our lives with relief and jubilation. But after a year in isolation, I at least have gotten acclimated to a different existence, quieter, calmer, and almost entirely devoid of bullshit. If you'd told me in March 2020 that quarantine would last more than a year, I would have been appalled. I can't imagine how I would have reacted if you'd told me once it ended, I would miss it." So then he goes on to explain why he feels this way. And it's this idea of like, not feeling pressure and just kind of doing whatever the hell he wants, sitting on the couch, watching TV, with no pressure. He clearly states that, some of this is due to depression, which a lot of us probably dealt with during this time. But then he goes on to say quarantine has given us all time and solitude to think, a risk for any individual and a threat to any status quo. People have gotten to have the experience, some of them for the first time in their life, of being left alone, a luxury usually unavailable even to the wealthy. Relieved of the deforming crush of financial fear and of the world's battering demands and expectations, people's personalities have started to assume their true shape. And a lot of them don't want to return to wasting their days in purgatorial commutes to the fluorescent lights and dress codes and middle school politics of the office. Service personnel are apparently ungrateful for the opportunity to get paid not enough to live on by employers who have demonstrated that they don't care whether their workers live or die. More and more people have noticed that some of the basic American axioms that hard work is a virtue, productivity is an end in itself, are horseshit. I'm remembering those science fiction stories in which someone accidentally sees behind the facade of their blissful false reality to the grim dystopia they actually inhabit. The forces of money and power would certainly like us to forget all about this year and go back to exactly the way things were, like a teacher intoning, "All right, class, back to your desks," while the first flurries are falling outside. Maybe we will. Insights are evanescent, and habit has a leaden inertia. But a lot of people went very far over the course of this past year, deep into themselves, and not all of us are going to come back all the way. Fascinating. I mean, when I read this, I was like, wow, I kind of feel this way to a certain extent. Not fully, but there is a part of me that's like, man, I'm not sure if I totally want to dive right back into the craziness of life, the pressures of life, sort of the obligations, and the keeping up with people and appearances. And I mean, like right now I'm wearing this t-shirt and shorts. Isn't that what we've all been doing, right? But anyway, as things open up, clearly people do want to resume activity, but also, get on to life, which includes finding love or companionship, which is a really nice segue into this episode. So I found out about this new app. It's a dating app. It's still in the beta stage, which means that it's still being worked on, but it is out there for people to try out. And I'll give you more information about that later. But this is an app called Alike. Okay, it's called Alike, and it's a video dating app that celebrates the Asian experience. So obviously, it's for Asians, right? It's not exclusive just to Asians, but it really is meant for Asians to meet each other. Started by a Canadian Korean entrepreneur, Hanmin Yang. And basically, it is this app. I'm on the website right now. It says, "Tell your story and find love." At the end of the day, it's about healing. It's about recognizing that the Asian diaspora is on a journey to heal from generational trauma and internalized racism. It's time we start loving ourselves. So I found this really, really interesting. And so I was like, I need to talk to this guy about why he started this and what is the mission. So I decided to contact him. He lives in Toronto. And so here is that interview. Oh, wait, you know what? Before I toss to the interview, let's take a look at the video, the promotional video about this dating app. Here we go.
The best thing about being Taiwanese has to be the food.
By the time, I don't know, college came around, I really embraced my Asian heritage.
One of the simple things that I really enjoy in life.
If I have to go to work, throw on a blazer, there you go.
2 truths and a lie. I broke my leg in grade 1. I watched a ton of anime growing up.
So about myself.
Hope you got to know a little bit more about me.
And that kind of shapes me into who I am today.
Okay, so now let's go to the interview that I did recently with Hanmin Yang. Hanmin, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, well, listen, someone on your team sent me an Instagram telling me about this new app called Alike.
Yeah.
And I instantly was like, this sounds really interesting. I think I need to speak to him. So here we are. So, Hanmin, first of all, tell me what made you decide to start an app like this for Asians?
Yeah. Well, there wasn't a singular moment. I feel like this work is a culmination of my entire experience of growing up as a Korean Canadian
Yeah.
in this Western society, right? So it's really a result of the pain and the scars that I've received
Mm,
as a little boy watching television and learning that the Western media views Asian men like the way they do.
yeah.
So as a result of consuming a lot of movies and television earlier on, because I was an immigrant, and that's how I learned about the Canadian society.
Yeah. So you came from Korea.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was
So
8 years old.
how old so are you? 8?
8.
Okay, so you were old enough to know that you were
Mhm.
different and you were in this new country and you were a minority and all of that, right? So, okay, so let's go back to what you just said because on my show we talk about this often. Is that
Mhm.
whole identity crisis that often Asians go through, and a lot of people of color. When they're all of a sudden in
Mhm.
this white environment where they're the minority, their identity is something that they either want to dismiss or they can't connect to or they're made fun of. It's looked upon as something negative, right?
Yeah.
So you obviously went through that as a kid.
Mhm.
And then especially, and this is, I think, an important point to always make is Asian boys and men go through, I think, even harder time because of
Yeah.
all those horrible stereotypes about Asian boys and men, right? So tell me
Mhm.
about your own experiences of having gone through that.
Yeah, one of the first Asian media that I remember watching when I was young was Karate Kid Part 2.
Mm,
And, of course, I say Asian media with quotes, but it's really not our story
yeah,
because it wasn't told by us, right?
right.
It was written and directed and produced by non-Asians. So the way that they depicted the story, because the story takes place in Japan, Okinawa, uh, I got to see how Asia is portrayed or supposed to be. So that played a big influence on me. In that movie, the Asian man, he's not allowed for whatever reason I can't remember now. He returns home and finds that the woman that he had loved all this time loves him back, but they're not allowed for some reason. They're not allowed to develop a relationship.
Hmm.
But the white man who goes to Okinawa develops a romantic relationship with the Japanese woman.
Hmm.
And I used to do stand up, and I have a set where I joke about how I think I wonder if I actually ended up marrying a Japanese woman because of that movie. I wonder, I don't know. I like it's even possible that I did. It didn't work out though. We ended up divorcing. And in my
Wait, wait, wait,
set,
wait, Hanman, this is true. This is a true story.
this
You
is
did
true. This
end
is
up
true.
okay, and so you think
I
it had a subliminal effect on
I
you?
did. I do think so. I do. I think I might have developed an Asian fetish as a result of that movie.
Oh,
As crazy as that
that
sounds.
sounds pretty crazy. Okay, keep
Yeah.
going, keep going. I want to keep listening.
So it didn't work out though ultimately. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. But in my stand-up set, I joke about how it didn't work out because she hadn't watched the Karate Kid Part 2, and she didn't know that she was supposed to wear a kimono all the time and bow whenever I enter the room. Of course, that being a joke, right? And I'm making fun of my own perception
Right,
of what Asian is supposed to be
right.
and of my own Asian fetish that I had developed as a result of watching the Karate Kid Part 2. How
That
insane
was
is that?
that was a story that was created by white
Men,
men and Hollywood, right?
yes.
Okay. That
So
is
that's
a
how powerful media is.
Oh, of course, of course. I mean, that is something that we all are aware of, and we have realized how much that shaped and misled all of our perceptions, right? So, okay, so let's go back to Alike because
Mhm.
this is a dating app. It's still
Yep.
in the beta stage, meaning
Mhm.
that it's still being tested and you're trying it out to, see what tweaks you need to make and all of that.
Yeah.
So, the whole concept of Alike is to allow Asians to date each other, to be proud of their identity and their heritage and their stories. Is that right?
Well, I wouldn't phrase it as saying to date each other. They can date we can date whoever you love.
Okay,
They can be
wait, wait,
Asian or
wait.
not.
Okay, then I have to clarify something else because
Yeah.
I have all these questions, so I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
people understand the basics of it. Is anyone allowed to join Alike? And I
Absolutely.
when I
Anyone is
s
allowed to join
okay.
alike, but the focus is on healing and celebrating the Asian culture and identity. And for those who are not Asian joining the app, we do request that they do so with respect. And that's important to us.
Okay, because I was going to say this, and everybody knows this, so this is no secret. There's
Mm,
a lot of guys out there who are not Asian who
yeah.
have what we call yellow fever,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And we all know that statistically on regular dating apps,
Hmm.
the one of the most popular categories of people are Asian women
Absolutely.
versus one of the lowest, least popular categories is Asian
Asian men.
men, right?
Yes.
So if you are opening this up, and I get it because you don't want to be, criticized for being discriminatory and all of that. So you probably, feel like you have to
Yeah. But we do
allow it.
address that.
Do
We
you?
do address
Okay.
that
Okay.
through
Then tell
many.
me. I'm so curious.
Yeah.
How do you address
Yeah.
that?
So through many ways, like education, um, we do have a vetting process where we, frown upon anything remotely close to racism, anti-Asian racism, or fetishes. But most importantly, we do allow you to select who you want to be matched with, whether it's Asians or everyone.
Okay.
So, if you want to come on our app and just be matched with Asians, you can have that. Or if you want to be matched with everyone, you can have that too.
Mhm. Okay. But people would be drawn to this app,
Mhm.
though, really logically. They would be
Okay, so you're,
drawn
you're
to it.
talking when you say
Yeah.
people, you're talking about non-Asian men
No, no,
with.
no, no. I'm talking about actually Asians.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah,
let's talk about it. I think Asians in particular would be exceptionally drawn to this particular app, knowing that it was really, you know, uh, it was really an app that was about Asians and again,
it is.
celebrating your identity and being Asian and all of these things. So I would
Mm,
think that that would be almost a given that most people would want to come onto this app because they want to maybe meet someone else of Asian heritage.
yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And
Okay.
99% of our users are Asian.
They are. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So that
yeah.
that makes sense. Okay. So I know that this app is video based, not so much text based, and it's video and photo based, right?
That's right.
But it's different. You're saying because it allows for more of like people to create these videos that really show who they are and they can talk about what they care about and things like that. So tell me how that works.
Yeah, it's really a combination of having video, which is great for breaking stereotypes,
Yep.
and our Asian centric prompts that allow you to really tell your story in a celebratory manner.
Okay.
Like some of our most popular prompts are the best noodle soup is without a doubt,
Okay.
or what I love about being your ethnicity,
Mhm.
the reason why I love being Asian. My favorite piece of Asian media is we also have neutral ones, but these ones are the ones that differentiate us from the others.
Okay. Okay. S-
Yeah.
So when you first decided to do this,
Hmm.
I'm sure you just shared your experience about marrying a Japanese woman, but I'm sure you've also had your experiences trying to date as an Asian man,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
using other apps or other dating services. I don't
Sure.
know, but I
Sure.
mean, tell me like how that impacted the way in which you approach this new app.
Yeah. So it's definitely frustrating as an Asian man. I don't think that's a surprise there, right?
Now,
Uh, when I'm in Asia, I get 10 likes a day.
okay.
Yeah, and when I'm in North America, I'll get 2 likes a month. So it's
Wow.
it's yeah, it's the discrepancy, right?
Yeah. Right.
And the women that I am matched with, 90% of them are Asian, whereas Asians only account for about 5 to 6% of the population.
Mhm.
So, why the discrepancy? That's a question to be asked at another episode.
Yeah.
So that was just frustrating, but that in itself wasn't enough for me to start this app. when I did meet with women or Asian women on dating apps, what was really frustrating was that I'd meet them in person, and within 5 minutes, I could tell that we have nothing in common because the Asian narrative is so diverse.
Yeah.
It's so diverse, and that's one of the wonderful things that I learned on this journey. And I wanted to meet someone of my experience, similar to my experience, someone who grew up here, someone who knows the pain of having an identity crisis, of going through, a lot of internal racism myself, and can relate to that
Yeah.
because I'm looking for a life, right? But as soon as we meet it, within 5 minutes, we could tell, oh, we have nothing in common. But why couldn't I tell that through the app, through the very tool that's supposed to set us up?
Mhm.
So I'm like, there's something lacking here. This is not serving our community. I know that there are so many of us, so many third culture Asians, which are failing to connect because we're not represented in the media.
Yep.
We don't know that we exist. We can't find one another. And our needs are not being met or served, especially in the dating app area.
Right.
So the initial idea was, well, I want to build an app that will allow someone like me to meet someone like my current partner. And that was the start. And then I started interviewing Asian men, Asian women, and then I learned so much along the way.
Okay, tell me what when you would speak to Asian men and women, what were some of the common complaints or feedback that they would give you about their experiences? What did you find that was like, I see everybody's kind of going through this or everybody
Yeah,
is experiencing that?
yeah. With men, we know it's what I alluded to earlier. It's you know they just get passed over.
Yeah.
End of story. With women, and this was eye opening for me too, because I thought that only men had a hard time. No, women have a really hard time because they're inundated with matches. It's just overwhelming, right? And when you're matched with somebody, women are full of anxiety because there's no way to tell if that person likes me as a person or just because I'm Asian.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
And they continue the relationship and still carry that anxiety. That's
Okay.
that's terrible. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to live like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
One real insight that I one thing that was really surprised me was uh, during the process of interviewing Asian women, one woman in her 30s said to me, frankly, quote unquote, I'm tired of dating white men. And that blew my mind. And because she wasn't making a statement about white men to me. It's not on disrespect on white men. She was making a statement about how she feels about herself.
Hmm.
And yeah, and what she was doing was she was starting to honor herself. And I asked, what does that mean? And she told me, well, I feel like I can't express my individuality to white men. They don't understand me. I want to be able to say certain things in Cantonese. I want to be able to eat certain foods without having to explain it. And I just can't connect with them like the way that I do with other Asians.
Okay.
And I told another woman, I met this woman who said that she's tired of dating white men, and she's like, me too. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? There's something here. There's
Yeah.
something here.
Right.
There's a movement that's happening very slowly, gradually, but it's picked up a lot ever since, of course, the pandemic, because I started
Right.
this project before the pandemic
Oh, this was
started.
before, so this wasn't as a
Okay.
result of.
No, no.
Okay, that's so
Like I
interesting.
said before, this was a result of growing up as an Asian man in North
Right,
America.
right. But it just happened to be then the pandemic hit and all the anti-Asian hate and racism all around the world, including Canada, definitely.
Yeah.
a lot of cases of anti-Asian hate. So yeah, so I get what you're saying in terms of,
Mhm.
especially now you are seeing this sort of um, sort of self-actualization
Yeah.
amongst Asians, right?
Mhm.
Especially younger generation Asians who are finally saying, you know what, I think really need to start embracing my identity a lot
Yeah.
more in all aspects of my life, which
Yeah.
may or may not include personal relationships, right? And
Mhm.
so that's quite interesting, that switch that we're seeing in that area. So clearly then, since you started this, and even though it's still in the beta stage, you have gotten a lot of interest, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, like the fact that we were called by you was a major indication too. But yeah, so the response has been a mix of overwhelming love and support,
Okay.
pure hatred, and healthy skepticism.
Wait. Let's talk about the pure hatred part.
Oh, yeah.
What's that about? From?
There's a lot of resistance within our own community.
And what do they say?
They say that it's racist and a lot of other stuff. I don't particularly want to get into because it's not pleasant, and
Really?
it makes me, yeah, it makes me really sad when I go like read some of the comments.
Okay, without getting too specific though, w- I am really curious. I mean, look, I'm a journalist, so of course I'm going to dig into the bad stuff. Without getting too specific, where is that coming from, do you think? If it's coming from our own community, and when I say that Asians, what do you mean? Where is that hatred coming from?
It's coming from self-loathing, self-hatred, and self internalized racism. There's
Okay.
there's no other way to put it.
Okay, that's why I asked, because
Yeah.
as many of my listeners and viewers know, I did a show on the idea of self hate and
Hmm.
internalized racism within the
Yeah.
Asian community, and a lot of people of color go through this because
Hmm.
of how we've all been programmed to think that our identity and our ethnicity and our race is less than, and so
Hmm.
therefore we have to dismiss it, we have to deny it, we have to turn away from it and turn towards what we all have been programmed to think, which is that white is the gold standard. And so that I believe that's where the
Hmm.
hatred is coming from, which is
Yeah.
sad, but I don't I mean I do I'm not surprised.
No,
I'm
it's
not
not
surprised.
surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah.
hope though you're getting more positive than negative.
Yeah, we definitely are.
Okay. Okay.
It has been overwhelming. I mean, people from all, we this app is for the time being only serving the North American Asian community.
Yep.
But we've been reached out by people in Malaysia, Hong Kong, Sweden, England, uh, and all over North America. Just and they're saying, "Hey, I love what you're doing. Can I
Mm,
help? Is there anything I could do to help you? Because I love your cause." So this mission is definitely resonating
yeah.
with our community.
Well, Hanman, you know that you can't make everyone happy, right? There's
No,
always
no,
going to be a
absolutely.
critic. There's always going to
Yeah.
be a hater, and that just goes without saying. In
Yeah.
in in our the world that we live in right now. But
Mm.
okay, so you don't have a background in this kind of work, do you? Like in terms of putting together an app or technology or
No, I
anything like
don't.
that, and dating. You're not a dating coach or anything like that, are you?
Uh, Not a dating coach. My background is actually in filmmaking, media, storytelling, and a little bit of startup. But I'm not a tech person.
Okay, okay. So this is all new to you too.
For first time for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
they say the mother invention, all invention is necessity, right? So you saw
Exactly.
a necessity in this area.
Exactly.
So what have you learned so far through this experience about yourself, but then also just about behavior and I guess where we are right now, as a society and as a community?
That's a good question. I wish I thought of something beforehand.
Oh, that's okay. I don't want to put you on the spot, but
you
how about
know,
yourself? What have you learned about yourself in this?
I more than learning, and the point of this project for me wasn't to learn. It wasn't intellectual knowledge that I was seeking. It was healing.
Healing. Mm.
Because I'm still scarred. I'm still hurt inside. The 80-year-old inside of me is still hurt. You know, it's still hurt and crying. So that was the issue that I was trying to address, and it has been incredibly healing. You know, being first finding out there is a community out there, and I didn't even know about that. It was only I started talking about alike on Facebook that people told me, oh, there's this thing called subtle Asian traits.
Yep.
And of course, right? I didn't even know about that. And that's a huge community. And to me, subtle Asian traits is evidence that we yearn for this kind of healing process and to celebrate our own unique culture.
Yes. Connection.
Subtle Asian traits isn't just Asian, right? Like you share some of those memes to somebody who lives in Asia, they won't get it. It's uniquely for the Asian diasporic community.
Yeah.
And that's the community that I was able to connect with. And that has been amazing for me. I've made a lot of wonderful friendships. I've heard so many stories. And to hear that I'm not the only one, that's been the greatest gain. You know, there's so many of us out there going through this journey, and now we can do it together.
Right.
And that gives me strength.
Yeah.
And that's been healing for me.
And that is so wonderful to hear, Hanmin, because I think the darkness that we've all been through, and we're still going through, obviously, the silver lining, yes, has been this raised awareness, right, about who we are, what our identity is, what we have contributed, and yes, and admitting to the pain that we've all suffered alone, thinking that, you know, oh my gosh, I have to just internalize all of this. I can't admit to it. It's embarrassing. There's shame, whatever you want to call it. But then opening up and seeing that this community has all had these experiences. And now that we're opening up and admitting and then empowering each other to use those experiences and those stories. And like you know, build something that actually is serving a really great purpose through your own hurt and pain. And to go through this healing. That's such a wonderful sort of full circle moment, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not done yet, though. Still a long way to go.
And let me tell you, Hanmin, I'm a bit older than you are, so I can tell you that it is a lifetime journey of healing and self-actualization, self-awareness. And as I have gotten older, I've even done more of that. I've even discovered more about my past and my history that I'm willing to open up to and admit to, right? Because, you know, when you're young, you think you're vibrant and you're invincible and, you know, I can do this and I can do it on my own. But as you get older, you realize, no, you know what? There are people around you that want to help. There are experiences that everybody has had. And if you are willing to open up and share them, then it's a whole new world, and a whole new community. So good on you for realizing that at your age and being
Well, you don't
to,
know how old I look young, but I'm actually in my 40s.
Are you really? Oh my gosh, you look like you're like in your early 30s.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
My parents did well.
Yeah, exactly. You must have a good skincare regime. I'm still older than you, but yes, okay. So you've been through some stuff for sure. Yeah. Well, so what is the next step for Alike? It's in the beta stage. So what's your schedule of introducing and really launching this?
Yeah, so we have been introducing one feature at a time because we're a very small team. And we've been constantly testing it with the beta testers and getting feedback. You know, a lot of them are saying, this is wonderful. I can't wait until it's ready. Right now, it's not ready. So one thing that was sorely missing was a location filter, because right now you were just being introduced to everyone across North America.
Okay.
You know, we had important things like age filter and whatever, but a location filter was missing. So that's going to be available later this week. And then we're going to make some smaller improvements with the design. And then we'll lift the invitation code. Right now, it is by invitation only. We'll lift that up. and then just market the shit out of it. We'll
Right.
see. What goes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And any success stories already?
Yeah, yes and no. So yeah, very early on in the process, I think it was around January. I'm in touch with a lot of the users on Facebook. They do get in touch with me, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Uh, she wanted to get on a call, and I did, and she told me, "Oh, I actually met somebody," and she's in Toronto, but
Okay.
he's in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, and back in January, everything was locked down. I think borders are still closed. So they were still waiting for the borders to open. I don't know if they're still waiting for that. I last I heard, they were like, well, we're gonna see, like, we've decided not to expect anything. And
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want to go into their personal
I know you're
relationship.
like, and you don't want to jinx it, but yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Got it.
But
A few hurdles, but
yeah, yeah.
look, I did last year, I did 2 shows on dating in the time of COVID-19.
Mm,
And what was interesting was that even in lockdown, people wanted to meet each other, but it forced people to look for quality, not just like instant
yeah,
hookups because you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
couldn't, right?
No, no,
So
you can.
therefore, it really started changing people's attitudes on like, okay, why do I want to meet somebody? Well, it's because I actually want to meet somebody real of quality.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
forced people to communicate in an old school way, right?
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I think that's
Yeah,
a fascinating change that COVID has sort of forced people to like look at like, maybe the real reasons for what they wanted out of dating, right?
yeah. After the pandemic, all activity across all dating apps surged,
Yeah,
and that was mostly because people were bored and locked
right.
home, didn't have anything to do. But I think what you said is very true. This pandemic is sort of like a global crisis, and in a time of crisis, you really reassess your values. Like, what is it that I really want to do? How do
Exactly.
I want to spend the rest of my life?
Correct.
I do I really just want to go out and have one night fling nights? No,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want something meaningful.
I really do think that people started looking for more depth and meaning and quality.
Yeah,
And so that's a good thing. But let's see what happens now that we're reopening. But I think with alike, clearly, again, as I said before when I was asking you about it, people are coming to alike and will because it's pretty specific. It's not like they're going to look at it as yet just another dating app.
no, I hope not.
Yeah.
Even if they do come across it as something superficial, like that's fine. That's fine. What I hope that they take away from it, though, is self-love,
Yeah.
because that's the core of our message. It's love yourself.
Yeah.
Um, I say this all the time because people ask me, are you just promoting in-group dating, like, date Asians should date Asians? And I'm like, no, that's totally besides the point. That's not the point, because an average dating app user has 3 to 4 dating apps simultaneously to
Yeah.
access different pools of people, right?
Right.
So that's not it at all. If it's really about healing, if someone like me went on a like, and through the process of telling my own story, in a manner that's full of self-compassion, where I can laugh at myself, and even if I don't meet someone on a like, but having gone through that experience, I'm able to open up somewhere else, and that allows me to create a meaningful connection somewhere else with another person.
Right.
We've done our job.
Yeah.
And that's the point of a like. We're trying to heal our community and help Asians find self-love.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love that. Honestly, Hunman, I love that. And I think that absolutely, if that's the core of your mission, then that is brilliant. It's brilliant. And I'm so proud of you because I really do
Wow,
think
thank
that,
you.
no, I really do think that this is something that has not been addressed enough. It really
I
hasn't.
believe I agree
Yeah,
100%.
that's why I
This
talk
was
about it.
missing.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to do this interview because it wasn't, people might think, oh, she's just doing a show on a dating app. No, no, no. There's so much more to it that I knew that this subject was going to be the jumping off point to something deeper. And that's
Yeah,
exactly why I wanted to have this conversation because I think
yeah,
it's important. And I think people really need to understand, that it's complicated. It's
It is
it's a
complicated. It is.
complicated experience to be Asian and grow up in, in North America or anywhere that's not, where you are the majority. It's a
Mhm.
complicated experience.
Mhm.
It really is.
It
So,
really is.
yeah.
People ask me, uh, you know, like I tell people, this dating app isn't about dating. It's not about dating. It's about healing.
Yeah.
And but you know what else? What I found really funny was I've been making posts about alike on LinkedIn and Facebook forever, and then recently, because of my CBC interview, one person said, "Oh, you know what? I think it's the first time I heard you talk about your motivations behind the app, and I finally get it." And my
Oh,
response to that was, it's funny because I talk about it all the time, my motivation for wanting to create a like. But I think the concept is so foreign
yeah.
that of Asians trying to promote self-love within our community
Mhm.
that it takes a long time to register.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen overnight, and Hanman,
No.
what I've now am observing though, is that because more and more of us are talking about these
Mhm.
issues that are much deeper, and a long history of our pain and oppression and all of that, people are beginning to get it, that it's not just this, "Oh, this racism and this pain just started with COVID." That there's a long history of this. So
Yeah.
now that this is being talked about more and covered more by the media to a certain extent, not enough, to a certain extent, I think people are starting to understand. So I bet media organizations are going to start picking up on that motivation, the true
I hope
motivation,
so.
a little bit more than just saying, "Oh, this is just another, dating app, whatever, for
Yeah.
Asians, whatever."
Yeah.
So keep pressing that though. My advice to you is, definitely keep pressing that motivation and that core value,
Mhm.
as the reason for why you started this app, and that
Yeah.
message will get across. I mean, obviously it caught my attention, but I'm a little bit more sensitive to it. But I think
Mhm.
it's a great thing, and yeah, the self love. We all need more of that, especially in our community. And if it means meeting each other and sharing our stories, that's what it should take. So, Hanmin,
I agree.
congratulations, though. I hope it's a huge success.
Thank
I
you.
think it will be, but keep me posted because I'm very curious about how it goes. And yeah, let me know when you guys officially launch. I don't worry, I'm not gonna join. I don't need
You
to
have
join.
to, May, you have to,
No,
please.
no, no. I can be your auntie advisor or something, but that's enough.
All right, that sounds good.
But anyway, good to meet you, and keep up the great work. And again, like I said, it's always a work in progress. Each one
Yeah.
of us, it's a journey. It is definitely a journey, but as long as you're moving forward in that journey, that's a good thing. So,
Thank you so much.
all right. You take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I wish Hunmin lots of luck with this new app. I really do think, though, at the core of it, the reason why he started it is so genuine, right? Because it really is about that whole concept of embracing your true identity, and healing. I like the fact that he was constantly talking about healing, the need for healing. And so we all have suffered from various incidents ourselves about the lack of identity or trying to dismiss or turn away from our real identity. So, yeah, I really hope this is successful. And very kindly, he sent me a follow up email after we did this interview. And he said that if any of my viewers or listeners wants to try out Alike, still in this beta stage, you can go to the website. And the website is alike.dating. Alike.dating. And then when you go to the web, to the website, there's a join button, and when you hit that, you can use an invitation code May Lee Show. Use that code May Lee Show. There's no fee, there's no subscription right now because it's in the beta stage. But this is what this allows you to do. It allows you to skip an extra step, I guess, for you to start using this site, instead of being put on a waiting list. Then I think you can actually join pretty quickly with this invitation code. So try it out if you guys want to. So thanks, Hanmin, for that. And listen, like I said at the beginning of the show, we are reopening. Let's take it easy though. Don't feel pressured to get back to life, as it was before and everything's normal and everything's fine, you know, ease into it if you need to. Ease into it, because we're all going to move at a different pace. We're all going to it's going to be kind of culture shock to a certain extent. At least I know I'm going to try to ease into it a little bit. So, and of course, be vigilant. I always have trouble with that word, because there's still shit happening out there, right? So let's all be careful and vigilant and look out for each other. All right, until next time, everyone. Thanks so much for watching.